Hey guys, my name's Dale and this is Think Fact. So I see a lot of fact videos on YouTube, typically videos with little bits of generic information that is said over and over again, or information that's not really that hard to come across. So here is a potential mini-series that I want to offer you guys, where I try to find facts that are interesting, potentially mind-blowing, and typically obscure facts that nobody really knows about. And if you guys like what I have to offer today, I would be glad to make more. But I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's learn something. The Mona Lisa is most likely the most famous painting to ever exist. I don't need to tell you that. But did you know that Leonardo da Vinci was not the only person painting Lisa del Giocondo? And yes, that's the name of the woman in the Mona Lisa, Lisa del Giocondo. Leonardo da Vinci actually had two students who painted their own versions of the two different paintings Leonardo da Vinci made of the Mona Lisa. The first one is known as the Prado Mona Lisa. Due to the student's name not being known, it is actually named after the museum in Spain that it is currently in. Leonardo da Vinci's version, as well as the Prado's version, are actually different angles of Lisa while the painting was being done. And I actually personally like the Prado better. The other versions of the Mona Lisa were topless versions, and keep in mind that these were commissioned by her husband. Oh, the 16th century. So even though there's only one famous Mona Lisa, Lisa del Giocondo actually had commissions of many different paintings, all of which she never received. Now, many people tend to associate the Venus Flytrap with tropical plant life. In many movies that have the Venus Flytrap or Venus Flytrap-like plants, they are always shown within rainforests of some sort. And to the surprise of those, except the people who live in its native region, the Venus Flytrap is actually native to North and South Carolina, the United States. Even though it has been introduced to different parts of the country and the world, its native region is just a 60-mile radius around the city of Wilmington, North Carolina. So yes, it is about as American as the bald eagle and apple pie, and actually doesn't really fare well in rainforests. And even though it may sound stupid, we should change its name to the Freedom Flytrap, because it makes no sense whatsoever, but you know, America, yeah. Now, China contains about 350 million people who use cigarettes. They also consume about 40% of all the cigarettes on Earth. Surprisingly enough, though, China has actually allowed state-run tobacco companies to sponsor school systems and school facilities. One of the schools being the Sichuan Tobacco Project Hope Primary School, a school that was constructed after an earthquake hit and the tobacco company used its money to construct a new school. Though it has parts of its curriculum that support tobacco use, as well as having messages on the walls in the school itself that say, and I quote, "Work hard for society. Tobacco can help you become an achiever." Yeah, an achiever for lung cancer. And yes, this is extremely awkward given the fact that tobacco use is already extremely high in China, but it hasn't gone completely under the radar. There is debate, and if you would like to read more on it, go check out the article I have in the description. Oh, China. There is actually a reason why your fingers and toes get pruny when they're left in water for prolonged periods of time. A lot of people accepted that it's just a natural thing where your body just absorbs water and it can't be helped. But actually, the opposite is true. The reason why your fingers get pruny is because the autonomic nervous system tells it to do so. And we understand this because people who have nerve damage in their fingers and toes actually don't experience any type of pruning in the areas where the nerve damage is. And it has been a useful way for doctors to be able to determine if there's been any damage in the given areas. So if your fingers and toes don't react and start pruning when they're in water for prolonged periods of time, I'd get it checked out because you might have nerve damage. Just about every organism on Earth that has a skeletal system uses calcium as the main material to construct it. But there is one organism that is known that actually has a skeletal system that doesn't use calcium but iron sulfates. Yep, its skeletal system is made out of iron. Known as the scalyfoot gastropod, which in other words is a snail, it uses the iron sulfates greyagite and pyrite, also known as fool's gold, to be able to create scale-like secularies. These are an exoskeleton, and it also uses these material to make an iron shell. Easily one of the most unique organisms ever discovered, and quite literally, harder than rock. Just prior to when the United States dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan, it actually came with quite a bit of warning contrary to popular belief. The United States actually dropped millions upon millions of flyers throughout cities telling them about 35 potential cities where an absolutely devastating bomb would be released. The papers went as far as to even tell the civilians that they themselves are not the target, but the military and the warehouses and anything that pertains to supporting the military is what the target is. And because bombs don't have eyes, it's up to the people to flee for themselves. The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were in the list of potential cities to be bombed, and there were some slight evacuations, more so after the first bomb, but nowhere near what was necessary. And because a lot of people didn't take it seriously, including the Japanese government, well, you know the sad outcome of that. And the rest is history. If I were to ask you where you think the oldest building in the world is, you'd probably think of Egypt, or maybe some parts of the Middle East, maybe even Malta or India. Currently, the oldest building on Earth is actually in the region of Brittany, France. Once thought to be in Malta, it was actually later discovered through carbon dating that it is a building called Barnezes. And yes, it is extremely old, older than all the pyramids in Egypt. Nope. It is the oldest building that is still around. And surprisingly enough, it's been kept in pristine condition and is being restored by the French government. Roughly 2,000 years ago, the Romans conquered the region of what is now Israel. In order to make the advance faster, the Romans actually destroyed one of the staple crops of the area, the Jordan date tree. And through the constant destruction of this tree, they ran it to complete extinction. The species is so old that it is actually mentioned in the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, and has been gone for centuries and centuries until the 1960s. A group of archaeologists were examining a palace where they found a jar full of seeds, and it was later confirmed that they were Judean date tree seeds. Carbon dating showed that they were over 2,000 years old, and they were kept in a local university for 40 years until 2005, where they tried to plant them. Luck would have it, one actually sprouted. Scientists are taking great care of the plant, and it currently looks like this. Scientists plan to research it to be able to try to find what medical benefits it may have that are listed in the 3 holy books. And the tree was named Methuselah after the longest living major figure in the Old Testament. Rap battles are becoming more and more popular. I mean, just the fact that the most popular show on the internet ever is Epic Rap Battles of History goes to show you just that. Surprisingly enough though, there were actual rap battles in history, most famously done by the Vikings. The Vikings were known to participate in a ritualistic exchange of insults done in a poetic form that was done between two people. Even the Norse gods are recorded in legends of having these rap battles. Known as flyting, it typically involved insults that ranged from being a coward all the way to sexual deficiencies. So basically, people haven't changed at all. But the Vikings were not alone in these insulting poetic battles. The Japanese, the Inuit, the Arabians, and even the Scottish all had their own versions of these battles. But only the Norse date all the way back to 5th century AD. Oh, it makes me proud to be 1/16 Swedish. Nowadays, many people know that the killer whale is not a whale at all, but actually more related to dolphins. I mean, just come on, look at it. The name that we have today, killer whale, is actually a mistranslation from Spanish to English due to the fact that in terms of how things are ordered, Spanish is typically in reverse to what English has things. Killer whale from whale killer. And yes, orcas, another name they're known as, are known to kill whales. Typically they go after the calf, but when in numbers, they will go after the biggest of all animals, the humpback. As you can see in this video, this humpback is struggling trying to actually get away from this herd of angry orcas. But if you thought orca was PG or a nicer name than just killer whale, you were wrong. That's because the name of the orca comes from the Latin word orcanas, which means of the kingdom of the dead. So yes, things just took a really weird and unexpected turn. Orcus is a Roman god who is the embodiment of death, and he shares his name with his afterworld. He's typically seen along Pluto, who is the Roman equivalent to Hades. So that's right, Shamu's species is named after the embodiment of death. So maybe we shouldn't be keeping these animals in tanks and letting them swim with people. When both of the names of a species involve murder and death, that's 2 red flags right there. Now all I can picture is Hades and Pluto in their equivalents to hell riding on orcas. I hope someone draws that for me and makes me look like Hades. That would be wonderful. It would be beautiful. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I thought this would be an awesome video to do. And if you guys like these types of videos, I'm willing to produce more of them. But they wouldn't be back to back, but I throw them in periodically. And let me know your thoughts on anything. Now my question for you guys is, which fact did you find the most interesting? I found them all pretty interesting because I picked them, but if I had to say a favorite, it'd probably be the orca one because that was freaking hilarious when I found out about it. So with all that said, my name's Dale, this is Think Fact, and remember, never stop learning. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please subscribe to stay tuned for more. For more videos on the facts that almost everybody missed. Pablo Picasso, Shakespeare.